Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking a really fascinating and honestly highly provocative piece of source material. It basically claims to offer nothing less than a literal operating manual for reality itself. The creator of this material boldly argues that everything we've been taught about money, yeah, it's a completely broken script. Instead of viewing wealth as physical paper or numbers sitting in a bank account, this paradigm insists that money is actually an energetic frequency. It's this massive, reality-shifting concept that blends quantum physics metaphors, ancient philosophy, and deep psychology to suggest that you don't earn wealth, you tune into it. I am super excited to guide you through these intense claims, so let's just jump right in. To make sense of all this, we've organized the source's arguments into a clear, five-part roadmap. We'll start with the illusion of money, move on to metaphysics and quantum wealth, look at the shadow in the system, break down the 60-day wealth protocol, and wrap up with becoming the frequency. All right, kicking things off with part one, the illusion of money, unlearning the physical grind. The core premise here starts with a pretty direct question. What if everything we were taught about earning money is actually designed to keep us playing small? Instead of looking at wealth as physical mathematics, this paradigm insists that money is pure condensed energy. It's a tangible frequency that actively seeks the path of least resistance. Think about the word itself, currency. The creator draws a literal parallel to an electrical current. If you treat it like a physical object, you're stuck in this rigged game of trading finite time for paper. But if you treat it as a current, well, that changes the whole shebang. You can actually learn to attract it. To back up this wild claim, the creator leans heavily on Nikola Tesla. You know, the guy who famously said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. The argument here is that human consciousness isn't just trapped inside your head. It actually generates a measurable electromagnetic field. Basically, it turns your body into biological hardware that is capable of pulling wealth directly out of the quantum void, provided, of course, that you're broadcasting the right signal. That brings us to part two. Metaphysics and quantum wealth, the hidden mechanics. 3 to 6. That right there is the number of feet the HeartMath Institute measured the human heart's electromagnetic field extending outside the physical body. So suddenly personal space takes on a whole new meaning, right? This framework uses that clinical measurement to argue that you are quite literally walking around as a biological radio tower. You are constantly broadcasting a potent energetic signal out into the world. And the universe? It simply matches whatever frequency you emit, whether that's expansive wealth or desperate survival mode. Building on that radio tower idea, the source material directly applies 4 ancient Hermetic laws of reality straight to your wallet. First up is mentalism, which dictates that your external finances simply reflect your internal state, whether that's chaos or abundance. Next, vibration argues that like attracts like, meaning fear and desperation act as a massive magnet for scarcity. Then we have polarity, which suggests that wealth and poverty aren't actually opposites. They're just the same energy on different ends of a spectrum. And finally, rhythm reminds us that money comes in natural waves. So don't panic during low tide. Just prepare your boat for the inevitable incoming flow. But how does this actually work in practice? Well, enter quantum superposition. This is the beautifully documented phenomenon where particles exist in multiple potential states at once until they are actively observed, which collapses them into a single reality. The creator applies this directly to your financial future. They argue that multiple simultaneous timelines currently exist in the quantum field, one where you're completely broke and one where you have massive wealth. According to this model, your internal focus and your deepest beliefs are the active observation mechanisms. They're what collapse the wave function and select which reality actually manifests for you. So moving into part 3, the shadow and the system, biological blocks. Now, you might be wondering, if we have the power to just collapse reality into wealth, why are so many people broke? Well, the source argues there's an invisible system at play here. Think about the difference between low-frequency beta brainwaves, that's your survival mode, panic, fear, and high-frequency alpha and theta waves, which is where your relaxed, receptive, creative solutions live. The creator claims that endless breaking news and traditional financial institutions intentionally target your primal amygdala. The goal? To lock you into those panicked beta waves, where you are literally biologically incapable of vibrating at a wealth-attracting frequency. But beyond external systems, we also have to look inward to Carl Jung's concept of the shadow. These are the repressed, denied parts of our conscious identity. According to this framework, even if you consciously desire wealth and you say all the right affirmations, your hidden shadow actually controls 90% of your daily behavior. If your subconscious secretly associates wealth with greed or moral corruption, your shadow is going to violently reject money. It'll sabotage opportunities in a misguided attempt to keep you safe from what it perceives as a threat. To combat this, the explainer poses a highly uncomfortable diagnostic question. What do you actually believe about people with massive amounts of money? Not what you think you should say out loud, but what your gut tells you in the dark when absolutely no one is watching. Uncovering toxic shadow beliefs, like thinking wealthy people are inherently selfish, is step one. You have to integrate your shadow to stop the unconscious self-sabotage. All right, let's get into the actionable stuff with part 4, the 60-day wealth protocol, the blueprint. The creator doesn't just leave us hanging with theories. They provide a very literal 5-phase chronological blueprint to rewrite your bioelectric signature. Phase 1 is field clearing. You physically write down and burn those toxic beliefs to transmute the energy. Phase 2 is frequency calibration. Then, phases 3 and 4 focus on relentless financial circulation. You create an overflow envelope, yes, a literal physical envelope, where you stash 5 to 10% of incoming money just to prove to yourself that you have a surplus. And you activate a generosity circuit by giving money away anonymously to prove you trust the flow. Finally, phase 5 is field protection, which involves a ruthless media diet and visualizing a morning energy seal to guard your quantum field from any static. Drilling down specifically into phase 2, we hit the Tesla 369 manifestation method. It starts with coherent breathing to shift your nervous system out of fear. So, in for 5.5 seconds, out for 5.5 seconds. Then you handwrite a specific wealth declaration. You write it 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times right before you go to sleep. The claim here is that this specific mathematical repetition creates an intense harmonic resonance. It's supposed to physically carve new neural pathways of absolute certainty straight into your subconscious. And that brings us to our final section, part 5, becoming the frequency, the identity shift. This is really the climax of the source material. Just checking off boxes in a protocol isn't going to cut it. You have to fundamentally shift your identity. As Carl Jung powerfully stated, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will hopelessly call it fate. The idea is that your current financial struggles aren't just bad luck, a rigged economy, or inescapable fate. They are unintegrated subconscious programming running your biological operating system. Here is the ultimate takeaway of this entire paradigm. You do not attract what you desperately want. You attract exactly who you are. Desperation literally screams lack into the void, which, of course, only repels wealth. In this model, your physical bank account is nothing more than a delayed reflection of your internal identity. The identity leads, and the physical reality merely lags behind. To lock all of this in, the source material explicitly instructs its audience to take immediate action. It commands viewers to make a public declaration by commenting the phrase, "I am the source," to activate a new timeline. It urges them to amplify their frequency by sharing the message to fight systemic manipulation. And finally, it funnels them into a private newsletter to go even deeper with advanced shadow work. So to wrap up today, I want to leave you with the ultimate question posed by this material. Who do you need to completely become in order to be an exact vibrational match for massive wealth? According to this explainer, you can't wait for the money to arrive to change your behavior. You have to mentally and energetically step into that identity right this very second. It's an intense, fascinating blend of psychology, energy mechanics, and mindset. Thanks for joining me to decode it. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.